Pollution sucks. I don't think anyone will disagree with me. Going to your local beach is like walking through a minefield with all the grossness and sharp objects thrown about, and the city park looks like a mini landfill with all the trash next to the garbage can rather than being inside it. Baby animals are dying from either choking on various bits of plastic and other trash, or they get covered in dead liquefied dinosaurs that we use to power our cars. Your average Joe is partially to blame, at least. They say,
It's a candy wrapper. It won't get bad.
and it's really bad. Most plastic is not biodegradable. And, animals see the package, they want some of that sweet candy too. They'll eat the package right up. If everyone was like your average Joe, the world would be disgusting. But that's not the reason why the world is gross. It's a lot more complicated than that. People are doing Joe's work. People are picking up the trash, doing it for hundreds of Joes that don't do it themselves. They create worldwide initiatives to make the world a better, cleaner place. And if human waste just stayed on land, it would be so much more manageable. Unfortunately, that's not the reality we live in. So much trash, so much contamination gets into the waterways, and it causes so many issues. Like I said before, animals choke on it and get sick. Waterways get contaminated. If you've ever seen in your hometown an E. coli outbreak, it's disgusting, quite sad. Animals, compared to humans, are stupid most of the time. Filter feeders like whales and plankton don't know what plastic is and will just eat it right up. Sea turtles will look at a transparent floating object and won't stop to think
By using facts and logic, I will deduce if this is jellyfish or not.
and eat it anyway because they think it's a jellyfish. According to the Plastic Soup Foundation, over 2,000 species of aquatic life are being affected by pollution, and the number is just rising by the day. When an animal goes to check out a piece of pollution, whether it's because of simple curiosity, like in the case of most aquatic mammals, or thinking it's food, like other sea life, it can lead to horrible effects, whether that's injuries, poisoning, loss of a limb in severe cases. A lot of animals just don't see them as a threat because they don't seem to be dangerous and even look like food. When animals eat plastic, it gives them a sense of fullness, like eating a full meal. However, it has no nutrients. So they feel full, they act full, until they start losing energy and slowly dying. It's a lot like what would happen if you or I were to eat a bunch of plastic. You'd feel full, you got the tummy full of plastic, it's tasty, it's delicious, but it has nothing in there that can keep you alive for long, and if you just keep on eating plastic, you're going to die. Speaking of humans eating plastics, it's already happening. According to Medical News Today, there was a test done in 2016 in the Tokyo Bay where scientists examined a bunch of different anchovies for microplastics somewhere in their digestive tract. 77% had those microplastics. Early studies show that microplastics can cause pretty much any stomach issue you could think of. However, there does need to be a little more research on that. But plastic pollution isn't the only thing humans need to worry about. There's also sewage contaminated water, which can lead to anything from a bad case of E. coli to dysentery or hepatitis A or polio. I don't think anyone wants those. Most waste that affects humans is chemical, like when phosphorus or nitrates get into the water supply. That can cause the symptoms that I described earlier. This could either be due to direct dumping from a factory or indirect from just the water cycle. If you don't know, the water cycle is the cycle of rain into the water and evaporating up again. So, for example, one day it rains, the water seeps into the ground, taking with it some of the nitrate and phosphorus, and those nutrients go into bigger bodies of water, like lakes and rivers. That water drains into the ocean, and in some cases, your drinking water. Because most of your drinking water comes from a well. It might come from a water tower that comes after the well and been purified and all that, but you won't always get clean water. A case study from Waupaca, Wisconsin by the EPA talks about how there is a lot of nitrate in the ground due to agriculture and like fertilizer, stuff like that. The nitrate would seep into the ground, into the groundwater, and most of the water in the area was well water. And if you didn't know, well water comes from groundwater, which is really bad to drink. Thankfully, most of this was taken care of due to keeping an eye on the nitrate level and good policy making to make sure that less nitrate could get into the water by any means. Honestly, government intervention is probably the best way to take care of pollution. They've got the money, they've got the power, they stay hungry, they devour. In theory, they could take care of any sort of pollution with time. However, there is one unfortunate truth of this world, and that is lobbyists for the government will always exist. If you don't know what a lobbyist is, it's essentially someone with a lot of money, usually corporate money, trying to influence the government. The website Open Secrets works to catalog every known case of lobbying within the government. Shown on screen are a couple of cases of lobbying against the Clean Water for All Act, which, as the name implies, wants to get clean water for all. Now, why would corporations want to stop the government from making the world a cleaner place? Wouldn't that be nice for everyone? Well, it's a very simple answer. It hurts their bottom line. Seriously, that's it. They'll make less money. Like, Lego has been working for years to try to make a sustainable Lego brick that works like a regular Lego brick, and they're just figuring it out as of June 2021. Amazon makes over $300 billion a year. Like, they can't put like 100 billion of that towards making the world a better place. Jeff Bezos has 200 billion and Elon Musk has even more. Unfortunately, this is just how the world works. For now. Socialism is on the rise as more and more people get tired of capitalism, but that's neither here nor there. Getting back on topic and talking about Jeff Bezos, we know that Amazon produces a lot of the plastic waste in the world. For example, they produced 465 million pounds of plastic in 2019, and that increased by at least 38% in 2020 thanks to the pandemic and everyone buying from Amazon. Like most companies, Amazon sets the burden of recycling onto the consumer. Almost no one recycles because it's just hard to do. Either you put everything together and send it out to a recycling place, and they have to deal with all the waste and contamination that comes from that, or the consumer themselves has to take everything apart, put everything in a right spot, and then either drive 50 miles to the recycling center and dump it all in, or go to a store that does recycling, which just combines everything and sends it off to a recycling center, adding more contamination. It doesn't help that Amazon primarily uses plastic packaging instead of the much easier to recycle cardboard packaging. According to BeyondPlastics.org, this is Amazon's shift to the use of plastic contributed massively to the use of fossil fuels. Amazon India is already doing this. They have all paper packaging, and it's working great. The same, if not better, as plastic in the rest of the world. So why doesn't international Amazon follow India's example? Simple. Their bottom line. It costs slightly more to use paper packaging due to the chance of weathering or incidents during transit, so they don't want to do it. Now, I will be fair to say that is just speculation on my part, even though I do think it's the truth. Part 3 start.
So what can we do to help?
The best way to take care of this is to start recycling ourselves. Whether that's by doing it through a service or doing it ourselves, separating everything and driving it out there, we have to start doing it as the human race. If you don't know, there is a giant trash island out in the middle of the ocean. Wrong trash island. There we go. That the human race has created. The worst part of it is that these trash islands, called garbage patches, aren't even just one big patch. It's two smaller ones that converge sometimes in between America and Japan. National Geographic says it's also more of gross soup than a full island. Just gross plastic soup. If we take responsibility and start recycling ourselves, then we can avoid having patches of trash sitting in the ocean. One thing we could do is go to our Senate representatives or House representatives and pretty much try and get them to vote for things like the Green New Deal or the Clean Water for All Act. Any one of these that can help save the world. I know we've heard it all before that the world is slowly dying from global climate change. And unfortunately, it's true. Not only is the water getting polluted and disgusting, that it's harder for animals to live on this planet, the ozone layer is disintegrating too. I'm sure you've heard stories about the giant ozone hole over Australia. Alright, so I recorded a whole segment about how Australia had an ozone layer problem. Doing a little bit more research on it, turns out that was just a rumor that was played up for some reason. There was never an ozone layer issue over Australia. But my point still stands that we need to go to our government and say, hey, we need to fix the ozone layer. Like yesterday, the ozone layer issue was over Antarctica. I think to follow that example. And we all need to start doing our part to clean up after ourselves. Didn't we learn this in preschool? I also believe we need to get better education on this type of thing. I mean, I got all my information from a couple hours of Google searching. Imagine if we had like a full class dedicated to this, whether that's in elementary school, middle school, something like that. I remember when I was a kid, we had something similar to the DARE program, but I also remember no one cared about it because it was the DARE program. Then we have people in power, like the previous president of the United States, saying, in the East, it could be the coldest New Year's Eve on record. Perhaps we could use a little bit of that good old global warming that our country, but not other countries, was going to pay trillions of dollars to protect against. Bundle up. Snowing in Texas and Louisiana, record-setting freezing temperatures throughout the country and beyond. Global warming is an expensive hoax. And then my personal favorite. The concept of global warming was created by and for the Chinese in order to create a U.S. manufacturing non-competitive. It's absolutely terrifying. Working on an individual level to help eliminate pollution is good. It works, and everyone should do it. But the biggest contributors to pollution are the big companies that have their hands in the government's pockets. We need to take a stand. Vote in people who know what they're doing about climate change. You know, I didn't like all of Al Gore's policies, but if we had him become president instead of George W. Bush winning because of a technicality in the Electoral College, we might have had a better, cleaner Earth rather than trillions of dollars in debt due to a losing war in Afghanistan. I know I seem frustrated or even angry, but that's not the case. I'm terrified. I want kids in the future to grow up and see the beautiful world that I was raised in. Like, there's so many wonderful parks and beaches, and I can walk through the trails for hours without getting bored, seeing even just the same tree over and over again. It's amazing. If we don't stop killing this planet, then we might not have anything within the next 50 years. Scientists are already saying that we've hit the point of no return, that we're toast. But I don't completely believe that. I think we have a chance. We just need to make some really radical changes. As sort of a final message, I say this. Go to Google, look up water pollution, look up air pollution, look up anything, and just learn about it. Read a couple of articles from any sort of news place you like. I just recommend making sure they're cited properly, like this video is going to be at the end, both as sort of a scroll through my list and in the description. Nothing's going to get done until we all work together, and that includes big companies like Amazon. So, all we can do is keep fighting for the world, for our future, for everything.